That's me, Mondo Manson. That genius right there, he's my boss. And he's always cold. And we make pizza. Every day. As the only pizza makers in Detroit, we're technically the best pizza. But if you try from anywhere else, you'd figure out we're not that good. And one day, we get a phone call. And some Crookshank dame asks, "Can I have a really large pizza for my son's birthday party?" But we've never made one of those before. And my New Yorker boss, Dan Delanto, was not very thrilled.
Really big pizza. We've never made a really big pizza before. That's not a menu item.
With the idea of profit on his mind,
I guess we don't want to dissatisfy our customers.
So we started making the really big pizza. First, my boss, he added the mustard. Smart guy. And then he went to add the tomato. Next was my turn, so I added in the water. Next, I put in the eggs for flavor. After that, I jammed in the milk. Dan said he added something special, but that's when the oven went off. And I pulled out the world's first really big pizza. As with all businesses, after you make a new menu item, you gotta try it. And we had made the greatest pizza of all time. After that, the unexpected prodigy pizza was to be delivered. I followed the address and I arrived at her house. And as I stepped my way through that beautiful door, I saw something even more beautiful than that really big pizza. It was her. And as put in my job description, I gave her the pizza. And in return, she gave me the money. By the time I got back, Dan Delanto was already locking up. As he left me with a job to clean everything up. But that dang phone started ringing, and I just had to answer it. This time I recognized the voice. It was that dame from earlier with the really long brown hair. And she said she wanted to meet at her house. So, I put my shoes on and went out the door. And then, the brown-haired dame called me over. She seemed like she wanted to talk. And then that dame spoke. We talked all night until she brought up about the recipe. And she wanted to find out what was in that really big pizza that she and I liked so much. She then explained her plan to me. To get that recipe and become the greatest pizza makers in Detroit. And all I would have to do is ask my boss for that hidden thing he put in the really big pizza. And at that point, I understood what I had to do. I had to get Dan Delanto to tell me what was in that pizza. I mean, how could a daring man even attempt to refuse when a girl like her had ankles like those? So because I was foolishly in love, I left to go on my trip. The next day I walk into work, say hi to Dan, and I had a question for Dan. I caught him in the middle of making one of our mediocre pizzas. I asked him to sit down with me and have a little chat about our pizzas. When I asked the man Dan what could possibly be in those pizzas, he said, "The secret ingredient is pineapple.
And I'm telling you this in confidence. Because me and you, we're inseparable. We're pals. Best friends. Co-workers. So don't tell anybody about this.
To reassure the guy, we shook on it. And after that, I went back to her house to tell her about the recipe. I told her that the secret recipe and the secret ingredient was pineapple. And she called baloney on the whole thing. I said, "How would you know what's baloney?" And she said, "Because I am a pizza. And no pizza in American history will ever be made with pineapple." She shot me in the head. I died. She then knew that the only way she could find out the real ingredient was to ask Dan Delanto herself. So I pulled me and my dead body back to my shop. However, all I could find was Dan Delanto dead. The dame, out of anger at the truth, pointed her gun back at me. Prepared for round 2, I had my own gun this time. And I shot her. And so ends the story of what could have been the greatest pizza makers in Detroit. And these could-have-beens just became another part in pizza history. And that's why you never add a new menu item. Ever.